welcome back to our channel Hi-Fi Study for You. Today in this video we are going to talk about a very important and the internal part of the parliament and which is playing a vital role as well as playing a maximum content for the Indian polity, that is, as we know, the first citizen of India, or you can say the head of Indian government by the highest authority in the executive. That is none other than the president. So today we are going to talk about the presidents of India. So let's begin. So first of all, if you and I have to define what is the president, so let's come together and define it. So president, as we know, is the first citizen of India. First citizen of India, highest executive authority, as well as the most important person. Okay, so today we are going to talk about presidents, its powers, its functions, its qualifications, its office, head office, and all about the president. So let's begin. So first of all, as we know, our constitution is everything. Constitution tells us about every single thing that happened in our country. Constitution judges us. It's like a judge for all the organs. Before that, let's consider and talk about the organs of the government. Why? Because they are the really important part. So let's talk about the organs of the constitution firstly. So organs of actually the government. So there are three organs of the government. First is the legislature, second executive, third judiciary. So first is the legislature. Second is the executive. Third is the judiciary. Now, legislature, executive, judiciary. Now, what are the work of all of these? And I hope you know this, but this is very important. So, legislature is the first and the very important organ of the government because it formulates the law. It makes the law. Okay. So, what's the work of it? It forms the law. It forms the law. Then if anything is get formed, we have to then enforce that. We have to then implement that. So the implementation part of the law is actually done by the executive. So executive, what it does, it implement that law. Implement laws made by the legislature. Executive implement, then judiciary review that. Let's suppose anything. Let's suppose like veto remarriage act had been passed. So firstly, what will happen? Then legislature actually forms that law about any kind of objective. Then after executive implement that law. Then after judiciary see, it's like a judge for legislature and executive, and it sees whole the government. It actually also a very great part to ensure that the political leaders are working with their limits, with their unlimited powers. They are not not destroying the rights and the provisions of the constitution and the fundamental rights. So these are the organs of the constitution, organs of government. So now let's begin with the main part of the video, that is the president. So let's begin with this. So as we know, there are so many articles which define the presidents of India. Okay. So there are many articles. The first article, all of these articles are important. The first is the Article 52. Why? Article 52 is actually the article which provide president the office. You can say shelter to our president. So it provide office. It provide office to the head of the government. Okay. This provide the office. Second important article is Article 56. Article 56. What Article 56 says? It give, as we know, president have a tenure of 5 years, and this tenure of 5 years is actually granted by the Article 56. So this grants the tenure to the president, which is of 5 years. Alright. Next article comes the Article of 57. Article of 57, then Article 61, then 77. These are important articles. And then after one more article left, which is Article 58, 61 and 77. Okay. So now after the tenure, the Article 57 tells about unlimited powers. It actually tells that any person can become a president infinite times as he or she likes. So there are not defined number of actually attempts a person could do for a president. Okay. So this is no limit to be a president. Limit to be him. Okay. No limit to be a president. Next, Article 58. Article 58 is actually defines the qualifications of the president. So it defines the qualification of the president. And if I ask you what are the qualifications of a president, if you and I want to be a president of India, so how could I be? So there should be the qualification. Number 1 is I should be a citizen of India. Yes, I am. Second, there should be, the age should be 35 years plus. So that's not, and also the office of profit can't hold. Means president, the person which is attempting for become the president should not hold any office, any other office of the parliament or anything as a part of their profit. These are 3 important qualifications should be in it, and there are many more, so we don't have that much, but it's important for a president, which is said in Article 58 that the qualifications are 3, which I had told you: citizen of India, and also the age is 35 years plus. Okay, and then after comes to the election of president. We will talk about it later. So this comes the Article 61. Article 61 talks about the impeachment. Okay, wait. So Article 61 is telling us about the impeachment. It gives us the parliament, the right of impeachment. And I will write the 77 power next. Okay. So impeachment is nothing but a power, a kind of power which is provided to the parliament. Parliament, as we know, is consisting of 2 houses, the upper house or the lower house, and respectively if we say Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So these both houses formulates our parliament. So our parliament have the right of impeachment. But here I mentioned all of sentence impeachment. What is it? Impeachment is nothing but a kind of power which can remove the president. Yes, if the parliament, it can originate in any house of the parliament if the house, some people with the majority, 2/3 majority, if that 2/3 majority thinks that the president is not working properly, or the misbehavior of the president regarding any issue or regarding administration, or it not following the provisions of fundamental rights or the constitution of India, then parliament have the right to impeachment. Means any house can raise a question that this president should be removed. That is known as the impeachment. It can start whether in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and if it got a votage of a majority, then the president is removed. Yes, that's the process of impeachment. Let's move further. There is one more important concept that I want to share with you, is that let's suppose a president is removed by an impeachment. So if it is removed, then the president's seat is vacant, right? No one is president. So who will act as a president? Yes, you are right if you are knowing that if president is not there, the Chief Justice of India, Chief Justice of India will act as the President of India. If Chief Justice is also not present, then the senior most judge of Supreme Court, and it will present obviously. So, and that vacant seat should be filled within 6 months. Within 6 months, it should be filled. Okay, and is by voting is will filled. Now let's talk about the election of president. As we know, we can't elect, or people never elect a president by voting, right? So it is actually elected by the electoral college. Now what is electoral college? Let's talk about that part. So president of India is elected by the electoral college. Electoral college. Now electoral college is actually consisting of 3 members. First are the elected members of the parliament. Elected members of parliament. Second, the elected members of legislative assemblies of states. Legislative assemblies of states, right? As we know, MLA and MP. Third, the elected members of legislative assemblies of Delhi and Puducherry. Okay, so 3 members. Let's recap all of these. The first is elected members of parliament, elected members of legislative assemblies of states. Third, the elected members of the legislative assemblies of Delhi and Puducherry. Okay, these forms the electoral college which directly elects our favorite presidents. Okay, this is about the election part of the president. Now, if you noticed, I told you about Article 77 that I will mention later. So let's talk about that. That's the main part of the video. So we are going to talk about Article 77. Article 77 is being provided the drastic, majestic, mysterious powers to the president. Yes, Article 77 provide a lot of powers to president. Let's classify them and understand them. So there are mainly 6 powers of the president. So let's look at all of them. So before that, okay, marker is ready. So let's talk about the Article 77, which provide mysterious power to the presidents. So the 77 article provide the first power, which is the executive powers. Let's talk about that. So that is the executive powers. So what are executive powers? We know you have to tell what is executive organ of constitution I mentioned. Yes, executive is actually the organ which implement the law made by the legislature, right? So this is executive. Now, what role did president play in the implementation of law? Actually, all important political leaders are elected by the President of India. Like the PM is elected by the President of India. Let me mention here. So, the PM, the Council of Minister, on the advice of Council of Minister, and also the CEC and EC. EC and CEC. So what are these? Chief Election Commissioner are elected by the President of India. Election Commissioner are actually the main head. Chief is the main head. After that, the subordinate, which is the main head of the Election Commission. Election Commission is nothing but a country's very important kind of heritage which conducts all the elections of important things. It conducts the all important of like elections of president, vice president, and all important like PM. These election commissioner played a really important role to elect them. Okay, so these are PM, CEC, EC, and also important like governors of the states, and CM is on advice of the governors are elected by the President of India. Within this, members of UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, and SPSC, State Public Service Commission, are also elected by the President of India. So had you seen so much political leaders which are really important for us are elected by the President. Okay, this is the first work. Second work is that President can seek any single information regarding the administration of the country from the PM. Okay, any information from the PM, President could seek. Okay, means can take any information regarding the administration of country from the PM. Let's move further to the next power, which is the legislative powers to the President of India. So second kind of power is the legislative powers. Legislative powers. Now, legislative powers are such powers which provide a great role. As we know, any act can never become a law before the approval or agreement, or like if President doesn't say yes, it should be become a law, then till then this act never became a law. Now, what are the difference between acts, laws, ordinance, rules, regulations? There are a lot of confusion. So in this video, we will also clear that. Let's begin with this. Because as we know legislative powers, let's complete first. So, legislative powers of the President is that first, any act can never be law before President say. And also, financial power is also provided that a money bill can never be originating in any house, upper or lower house of the parliament before the President say yes, it should be the money bill. And if you know about money bill is a kind of bill that is presented in the parliament, and after President say to it present, money bill is actually defined at how much money is borrowed by the country according to the national income and all that. Okay. So now let's talk about act, laws, rules, regulations, and ordinance. What are these? So firstly, the first thing is that draft is come. Means if you want to, if the parliament want to formulate any single law, then first that thing is known as draft. As I mentioned you an example, widow remarriage. So widow remarriage, let's suppose that widow remarriage act has been have to passed. So that firstly what happened, that was a draft that which actual draft is actually containing some objectives that it will provide widows to remarriage. Okay, it's a right to the widows. So now this they will become a draft. After the draft presented to the parliament, and with the majority, if both the houses say yes, it should be became an act. Then after the parliament, inside the parliament, if it is showed, it will become a act. If that act goes to the president and president also say yes, this act should become a law. It's right, it's welfare, and according to the provisions of the Indian Constitution, if it should be approved, then the president will say yes, and then it will become a law. Understand the difference between act and law? Act is before when parliament say yes. Law is when the president say yes to the act. Okay, a really great difference. Now rules are something that enforce the law. Let's suppose the law is made, right? Law of anything is made. Then after the law, how the law should be worked or enforced to the country, they formulate the rules about that, right? These are rules. Then after regulations, that how we should follow. Then after ordinance. Now ordinance is different thing. It's just in here when the parliament is in session, we call it act. If not, we call it ordinance. Let's understand clearly, okay? Parliament is actually working as 3 sessions: budget session, winter session, and summer session. Budget session is actually the longest session, and the winter is the shortest session of the parliament. Now, parliament, if during the time when the session not held, in that time, if urgently, very urgently, a law should be passed, then in that time, the law which is urgently passed by some political leaders' approval or by president, that law or that something, let's say draft, that draft will be called ordinance, not it act. And then after, immediately when the next session of parliament is going to held, it is showed in front of the parliament. Then if it is approved, it became a law. If not, it is removed. Understand? Ordinance is different thing, act is different thing, but in a by a mean it's same. Just in that time the parliament is not in session. Now let's move further. Now there are next powers of the president given by the parliament and the constitution, that is the diplomatic powers, military powers, financial powers, as I also mentioned to you. Now diplomatic powers. Diplomatic powers. What are diplomatic powers? Actually, if you know, president have the power to send ambassadors and receive diplomats. Very great power. And also the veto power you have. So diplomatic power is actually the power of the president to actually send ambassadors and receive diplomats. Second power, next power actually is the military power. Military power to the president. Military power provides that president is the supreme commander of all 3 forces: the Air Force, Navy, and the Army. In the field of air, it will be Air Force. In the field of water, it is Navy. And in the field of land, it's Army. And the supreme commander is the President of India. So these are the drastic powers of the President in India. And also there are one more power, that is emergency power, right? So emergency is actually classified into 3: the national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency. Now national is on national level, on country level; state on a particular state, like our state is Rajasthan. If on Rajasthan somehow emergency is applied, that will be the state emergency. And next is the financial emergency. Financial emergency happen when in the time of financial crisis. Okay, so this is emergency. Emergency power that president can declare the emergency, national or state or financial or any particular area. If president see that area is not working, the government failure, or as well as the constitution failure is actually happen due to president have the emergency powers. Now, as we know, the national emergency is under the Article 352. Article 352 gives us three grounds. Now, which three grounds is actually like arms, external aggression, and as well as the armed rebellion. Now, before, the armed rebellion was internal disturbance, but by the amendment it is changed to the armed rebellion. And this is about the emergency powers of the president. Now let's move further and talk about the next concept. Now these are the drastic powers of the president of India. Now, which president had happened in our country? Now let's revise all of these. So there are actually 17 presidents that happened to our country and the 17 present. Okay, so I will tell you all of these names. So as we know, the first president was Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Second was Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Third, Zakir Hussain. Fourth, V.V. Giri. Fifth, Justice Hadiatullah. Sixth, again V.V. Giri. Seventh, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. Eighth, BDJT. 9, Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy. And 10th, Yani Jail Singh. And 11th, R. Venkataram. 12th, R.D. Sharma. And 16th, 13th, K.R. Narayan. 14th, APJ Abdul Kalam. And 15th, then Pratibha Patil. Then 16th, Pranab Mukherjee. And 17th, today which is in present, Ramnath Kovind. Now these are the presidents which had happened in our country. Now there are some important facts about these presidents, and they are that there are two presidents, Zakir Hussain and Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, who are the only president which had died on their post. Now next thing is that the only Chief Justice which had became the President of India, that is Justice Hadiatullah. And also one more thing, that a president who is only before being president, he was the Speaker of Lok Sabha. That was Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy. Now these are the important presidents, important concepts about the presidents of India, and hope you enjoyed it. Keep learning, stay safe. Till then, till I meet next time, thank you.